This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Pierre Neville. You can text the show on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
Morning, boys.
Good morning.
Morning, what is it? To the tabloid reporters. Morning, gents.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder where they've been this week. Anyway, yes, good morning. We did an interview last week, PA, and missed it.
Oh, we had guests round.
They don't come often, but we had it last week. Yeah, it was
the mincemeat crew.
It was the mincemeat crew. I'm still. Somebody said to me, "I wish you'd do more interviews."
Did they? Who said that? That's lovely.
My brother-in-law said it. In fact, yeah.
Oh, well, he's a good judge.
Yeah. It's funny because I was just on my way to the job centre to do one. I'll tell you what I've got.
A seaside special.
I've got a mystery photo that I'm going to put up. I've been on a walking holiday this week. More of later. And I saw a phenomenon in the bushes.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
Which scared the hell out of me, and I can't work out what it was. It was
dear.
sort of...
Okay.
This is like Victorian crime reporting.
No, it was built by creatures.
What?
Oh,
But
okay.
I really...
What, was it a home for creatures?
Well, I don't know. I thought if we put a picture up, we'll have some naturalist who will be able to tell me what it is. But if it was web, it was sturdy.
Ooh.
Sturdy, tungsten web.
Really?
What would you do if you put it up in good faith and we got tweets from naturalists, the real deal, just saying, where did you see this? We've never seen anything like this.
What if we did?
What if we got tweets from naturists? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, saying tell us where that is because that looks a bit dangerous. Yeah, maybe it's an AI thing. That's what everything is now. Isn't that the answer to everything?
AI. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they like that on the Bro podcast with the black T-shirts. They talk about AI, don't they?
Yes.
I think it was invented in Newcastle, wasn't it? AI.
Oh, God. Frank, guess what?
7.
No.
Okay. What if that had been right?
Oh, these we have loved.
Yeah.
Oh, miss him. Desmond McGiven has been in touch.
Yeah.
Frank, lovely to spot you at the opera on Thursday. It was a great show, Aida. Don't call me Aida. I rarely see celebrities at the opera. The only other one I've seen was Pete Waterman. Let's put a pin in that.
Yeah.
Funny to think that I would only spot... Oh.
You are not a pop idol.
Anyway, Desmond...
That's what he shouted. There's going to say just bravo. Go on, carry on.
Desmond was very excited to see you, essentially.
Well, that's lovely. That is nice.
Have you anything further to say?
Yes, I went to see Aida.
Was it with Dame Joan?
I'll tell you what they did with it. They the singing and that was and the music was amazing. But they did. It's set in ancient Egypt. Aida. So often you get all the elaborate costumes and the tomb interiors.
Sure.
And all that.
I don't know why, I find ancient Egypt quite comical.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of cartoons.
It's because they're all standing sideways. That's what it is. Very narrow passageways, apparently, in those tombs. Nobody was doing the sand dance.
Right.
There was that. But what they did, that we've spoken of this before, they went for like the Republic of Campania. You know when you get like a mock republic.
Yes.
Oh man, I was. You know, people get snowblind. I closed my eyes and all I could see was khaki. There was. It was all that. It was all like modern military uniform. There wasn't a head plume.
Oh, I would have been a bit disappointed.
They were in a tomb. It ends. I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Not an Aspen site.
But it ends in a tomb, and
Spoiler alert for Aida.
exactly.
Yeah.
It ends in a tomb, and there was not a sarcophagus in there.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. There was
I wish you
missile.
shouted that out.
There was like a wine rack, an enormous wine rack with ballistic missiles in it.
Oh, we get it.
Yeah, all right. Oh, yeah, exactly. Because they were in khaki, I could barely see them against the missiles. But the singing was fantastic.
They will do this, though.
Yeah.
They will get out the, as we know, Frank, the combat trouser and the denim jacket for Coriolanus.
Exactly.
The army surplus shops must just be so reliant on
Or another
theatrical
Shakespeare
productions.
season coming up.
Can I
Rubbing their
have
hands.
28 pairs of combat. So was it Henry V? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, like I say, it sounded great, but I thought there was a bit of money being saved from the choir.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So I saw Aida on Thursday, and on Wednesday I'd seen School of Rock at the Cheltenham Everyman Theatre. What a week of culture I've had. Yesterday I went to see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That was my big 3 cultural events of the week.
Has Spider-Man got another film out?
Oh yes, this is the animated version.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's it like? Is it good?
I would say, without exaggeration, it's a work of art.
The animated ones are much more lauded than the...
I mean, yeah. I mean, not when you say not Spider-Man, less lauded.
No, I was
Look
gonna-
out!
Yeah.
No, but you've got to do the Strictly version that Frank and I like. When the orchestra do Spider-Man, they go, look out, here comes the
because
Spider-Man.
the guy, what was he called? The guy from CBBC, who Buzz loved. He danced the Spider-Man.
Reese.
Was it Reese? Yeah. And he, and there's a guy going, does he swing on a thread? Take a look overhead. And you think, no, don't do it like that, mate.
I like Frank Sinatra sort of era Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Yeah, sort of Rat Pack Spidey.
Hey there, hey, goes the Spider-Man.
They might whisper that, Frank.
Yes.
They love a whisper.
Bless Frank.
Quickly webbing someone on behalf of JFK secretly.
I'll tell you something that struck me, though, there. At the Everyman Cheltenham, there's a big pile of booster seats in the corner of the foyer.
Oh, yeah.
So if you take a child...
Art sculpture?
Or me.
No. or Emily.
Yeah.
You can put her on. I've never seen an adult on one, actually. I think adults would rather not see, probably, than fess up.
Oh,
I'd love to
very
see you
happy
on a
to.
booster.
I would go. Well, I love to bring a cushion sometimes.
But me and Boz are attending we're doing some festival action this summer. And what he needs, of course, is a booster stand, as it were, rather than seat.
Like a sort of tennis umpire.
Well, when I used to go to football when it was all terraces, hold on, I'll see if I got any sentimental, old-fashioned music for this. This'll do. When I used to go to football as a child, there was seating, but I didn't know anyone who was rich enough to go in. It was about 37p a seat. People used to take milk crates, metal milk crates, kids, I mean, to stand on. You'd see kids in the queue with milk crates. Or their dads at work would make them like a wooden step. And you'd take it and stand
At work,
up.
the dads would make it.
People always made stuff at work.
Just quickly use the machine.
When the Kung Fu rage came out, the people were making a fortune selling those Kung Fu stars. You know, those things that you throw? Razor sharp.
Oh, like shurikens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, we called them Kung Fu stars.
Yeah.
We didn't go too deep into the culture.
Like a sort of Halloween costume knockoff title.
Yeah, but...
Kung Fu stars.
yeah, exactly.
Stars.
But people were always making that, and people would make that. So, 8, 12, 15, do people still make stuff at work?
Yeah.
So I wonder if anyone's got any tips. I don't want him to be topless on my shoulders with a bit of body paint on, as is the thing that women used to do at festivals. I don't know if that still happens.
No, 8, 12, 15.
But also, I don't know if I can take him on my shoulders for more than one song.
Oh, so how does he get elevation?
Yeah, because, he's 11 and most people at the festival are a bit taller than him.
Yeah.
But, a booster seat's no good at a festival. That's the title of my new song.
I've always plumped for a wedge.
Oh, okay. That's like a heel, is it?
Yeah, so if you go for a 4-inch wedge,
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying.
No.
A 4-inch wedge, that'd bring me sort of getting a bit closer.
What
to
I
your
want
height.
is, those boots that Elton John wore when he did Pinball Wizard and Tommy? That's what we need.
3 feet versions of those.
Yeah. If anyone's got any festival tips for the short, spit them out. 8, 12, 15.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, would you, briefly,
Would you?
On route in this morning, I had a charming driver who said, you pick the music, anything you like. Anything
Okay.
you like.
Oh.
And I warmed to him instantly. So I thought I said, well, what music do you like? And he said, it's not about me. I want you to just pick what you like. That's really
gosh.
nice.
After You, Claude, is what they call that, I think, in sports commentary. If somebody lets someone else do the thing and then someone else doesn't do it and then it never happens.
I love that.
It's a bit After You, Claude. That's what they say.
I went for Frank. I'd recently seen Cabaret.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, he said, I noticed you've been singing. That's why he suggested. I said, I was singing a song called Money from Cabaret.
Yeah.
So I put it on and I think it was an odd choice to start the day with because it's a strange song.
He was probably thinking, I'll never do this again. Let them. Though it's a song I love, but it's not for everyone.
No, I went to another song in the end, which was a rap song because he liked rap.
Okay.
And then we both listened to a lyric and there's a bit where the man says, I've got a penthouse with an option to lease. And we both looked at each other and we were obviously thinking the same thing, which is that's a lot of information
Yeah.
for a song.
Yeah, the man, when I came in this morning, I got, I should say, we were driving in for ages, but there's something happened in Golden Square.
They won't let us.
There's one mystery corner of Golden Square where there's roadworks today, I noticed, and closed. What is going on over there? Anyway.
It's a heist.
I think it might be a Bronze Age cemetery.
Oh.
Yes,
of course.
Yeah. Anyway, he was playing a very long song about Jesus, the man who drove me in.
Oh,
Now, I follow the Nazarene, but I don't always follow his musical worshippers.
Devotees, yes.
As a man once said to me in Birmingham, I said, I saw him in the Oratory in Birmingham, the big, old-fashioned but very beautiful church there. And I said, I thought you went to St Michael's. He said, I did, but I was in there recently and there was a piano accordion. He said with horror, absolute horror.
I thought your modern-day Nazarenes favoured the guitar.
Well, they do like a guitar.
They love a guitar,
They do like a slightly out-of-tune guitar is what they like, but very long hair while singing. But anyway, I don't mind. You get the drivers who ask and the ones who just keep on blasting out. I'm just so happy it's music and not sort of ill-informed political debate on one of the London talk channels.
Yes, yeah, that's a much worse option.
Because then I don't want to be brought in. I don't want that to trigger a conversation in the car. That makes me anxious.
Okay.
I'd rather discuss the penthouse with the option to lease.
Yes.
Or
I'd rather discuss Penthouse, the popular magazine.
Oh, God. I'm sorry, Pierre. I do apologise.
No, when I would have discussed that, I couldn't afford to get cars, so I'd have to have discussed them with non-driving people.
Okay. Have I got time to share something with you?
Well, the
I
fares
suppose it
has
depends
just
what
gone
it
up.
is.
If it's a massive spliff, no.
Goodness gracious.
I don't. And no one on Absolute does. Just remember that.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, we have heard from the outside world, including Andy Wood from Bronte Country, one of our regulars, as you know.
I know Andy Wood.
And
It's always a good fallback for me.
and Andy has responded to your what was made from work? What was your shout out again?
Kung Fu stars, but
Yeah.
also little wooden platforms that young people, children, took to. When you say young people, you immediately sound like a Church of England vicar.
Yes.
The kids took to football games so they could
Yes.
see.
Yes.
So Andy says, back in the early 80s, my dad was one of those men who drove a roller, and not that kind, not Parker,
Okay.
and flattened the newly laid tarmac motorway.
Oh, yes, yeah.
That was
Steamroller.
that was a cool job to have.
Yeah.
He made me a cricket ball by somehow compressing tarmac into a perfect sphere encapsulated in some kind of questionable film. The first time I used it, it hit my sister
Right.
in the forehead and left a lump that would make a rhino envious. It was so... Don't worry, everything's all right.
No, okay.
It was so heavy and hardly bounced at all. Useless but thoughtful, homemade at work patriarchal gift.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
that's
like
it.
it.
Gifts that are nice and fun, but there's an element of danger inherent in them.
Yeah, that's the trouble.
Yeah.
Will you survive childhood?
Yeah.
I
gifts?
don't remember any of those razor-sharp Kung Fu stars having a kite mark on them.
We've had a great message from 770 who says, "Hi Frank, I'm a lifelong blacksmith.
Wow.
Lifelong.
Lifelong from birth.
Making stuff is all I do at work. Have a good day, Dean. Just off to make stuff."
Yeah, but I'm on about making stuff not for work, but making stuff as a sideline. We were talking about...
If you're a blacksmith.
We were talking about... Emily was saying her dad basically made documentaries.
Yeah.
About Bertrand Russell.
So about Bertrand Russell, the philosopher, and I said, well, it's like him saying, well, I'm making a documentary about Bertrand Russell, but we got the crew, so I knocked off a quick 10-minute short about W.A. Jordan for a mate of mine.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, for him to
Goodness
use.
sake.
So yes, does the blacksmith ever just knock something out for a mate?
He's got to.
Yes, a blacksmith. I mean, the potential.
I think if you're a blacksmith and you don't have a handlebar mustache and a sort of Bluto-like physique,
Yes.
you're wasting a chance.
I'm hoping it's a shoe last. Is that what they're called? Those things where you fit a shoe over it and knock the nails in. I think it's called a last.
Have we got
hoping-
any cobblers listening?
There'll be a few cobblers. Because I get a lot of sports trophies sent in. So I'm guessing it's that.
Frank, there's something else I'd like to share with you from Michelle Mabel. I'm going there. She's-
Très bien ensemble. Très bien ensemble. Yes.
And I'm going to... We don't allow praise, Pierre, on this show.
Yeah.
You'll be disappointed to hear, but I think you're coming to accept that. However, I make an exception. I choose to make an exception for the Poetry Podcast.
Well, I think we all got a soft spot for obscurity.
And Michelle says, I've never contacted a radio show before, and I fretted about whether or not I should contact you. Anyway, I never thought poetry was for me. I couldn't understand it, but I wanted to, as I love reading. I'm old. I know the feeling, Michelle.
Is I'm old a sentence in isolation?
I was going to say, that was my note, not Michelle's.
Okay.
I'm old, and I went to a secondary school, and they didn't teach poetry there. Girls were expected to look after the man of the house.
Oh.
I heard you say on your radio
That
show...
was me pining.
Really?
I heard you say on your radio show you did a podcast, and I listened. I loved it. You make sense.
Oh?
I'll get back to you on that, Michelle. No, he does make sense. I now have a collection of poetry books, mostly ones you recommend. I get them from Oxfam shops. I like to see which poem you are discussing, and then I look for it in my books on my iPad, and I follow it whilst you read it. So thank you, Frank, for helping me understand poetry.
Well, that's absolutely lovely, because there is part of me thinking, now I've just created someone else who gets in ahead of me into the poetry section of Oxfam shops. What have I done?
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
So, yeah, we've been doing a walking holiday this week, which, can I say, my general sense of walking on public footpaths is that farmers don't really want them on their land and do everything they can to put you off.
Yes.
Which I think you'll find walkers were there first, before everything. If you read a Thomas Hardy novel, the bloke will say, "No, I'll be off to Casterbridge," and then he just turns around and walks. Doesn't get on a carriage or anything. He just goes off over the fields, like 40 miles. Anyway, I know farmers have been around a long time as well, but we had 2 incidents of the bulls in the same field as the public footpath. And now I really would like to. Now, I at one point I was a bit alarmed. I was with my partner and our kid, and I'll be honest with you, I picked up a very big piece of wood, a big, thick branch. And I thought, if I have to, I'm going to do my best to take one of these guys down.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any... I've never heard of bull loyalty as a concept. There's
What do you mean?
The other bulls aren't thinking, oh, is it one of us, we'll go after him.
They're loners.
The other bulls are thinking, a bull's gone down, let's move to the other side of the field. That's how
It's every bull for himself in their world.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So hang
on, you picked up were you wielding the stick?
I took the big stick approach.
Oh, God, I wish they'd taken a photo of you. You must have looked absolutely ridiculous.
Did you speak softly? And carry a big stick?
I said we walk
Did you say take it real slow?
That's all you can do. I've had this a few times. People will they'll even put bull in field sign on the wall next to the public footpath.
That's not help, isn't it? Sign saying murderer in field.
Exactly. So it's the trouble is your walker. They don't have... We're not a very powerful group. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know how we'd protest. I think the only way is to beat bulls to death with sticks.
Frank.
That's the way I'm seeing it.
Very loud shoes.
I would feel confident, I've got to be honest, with Pierre. If he was with you...
Yes.
My money's on Pierre. Well, every time with that bull, wouldn't you say?
A method I've used in the past.
And you can run away because I'll be blocking the horns with my body.
Well, I'll tell you what I do, and I don't know if this is a good method. What I do is, if they're on the path, if they're literally on the path, I walk really close to the bulls, to the point where I'm basically touching them. Because my theory is they need a bit of a run-up, a bull, to do massive damage. I don't know if they're any good from a standing start.
Yeah.
And look, let's face it.
Unlike Alf Inge Haaland.
What's the worst that can happen if your theory's wrong?
That's his dad. Sorry, I'm out of date.
Would you rather see a Bullenfield sign or a Haaland and Field sign?
Exactly. Can you believe I called him his dad's name?
I quite like it. Bring him down a peg or two.
Real old bloke thing to do.
As opposed to waving a stick at a bull.
So what I'm asking for is bull advice. That's less old bloke and more early man, I would say.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Pierre Neville. You can text the show on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
Frank, we've had all sorts of communiques from our lovely readers. Some bull-related. I mean, there's all sorts coming in.
Yeah.
For example, 223. Hi, Frank. I think we've walked in the same field as you this week.
Really?
We've seen the same bull from the alders of Cheltenham. # walking in Cheltenham. Now, there may be more than one bull in Cheltenham.
Well, yeah, it wasn't actually. We started in Bath.
Oh.
And one night, you'll be delighted to hear that I stayed in Old Sodbury.
Simon of Sudbury will be happy to hear that.
Yeah, and then we ended up at Wootton-under-Edge. That was our walk. I'll tell you, there was one great moment, though, you'd have liked, Pierre. We went through the site of the Battle of Lansdowne from the English Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
So there's lots of boards up and stuff, and they've made a really good job so you know what happened where. And one of the things that happened is like the Roundheads, the parliamentarians were fighting the royalists, and they were all fighting over this hill.
Oh.
And at night, when it went dark, the battle stopped for it had a sort of a break. And the parliamentarians thought, well, we're on the Bath side, so let's go back to Bath and just freshen up mid battle. Yeah. And so they, it's nice to get off-site when you're doing these festivals.
Well, they went off to powder their nose.
So they went back and had a nice meal, freshened up in the evening. Of course, we couldn't do it if we'd have been there because of Absolute's no retreat guarantee. But
seriously,
yeah. But then they all went back. The next day, like had a clean top on, and stuff. I mean,
do you think they sort of clapped their hands together and sort of went, where were we?
Exactly.
I like the idea with them with sort of box fresh polo shirts. Go, righty, how you diddling? Not pretty bad.
Okay, shall we? I did that in the hotel lobby,
or sort of clapping both hands on their thighs as they said, right, the war. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's eating. Food must be good. Frank 455 has also been in touch.
Can I just tell you one more thing about that?
Please do.
The royalist leader was killed. He's got a monument there in the field where he was killed. And the parliamentarian leader and the royalist leader was old mates. They used to hang out together. Oh. And I thought, oh, God, that must have been strange for the parliamentarian. Well, for both of them. What a weird thing to happen. And then I looked at my internet when I got back to the hotel, and David Beckham had just sacked Phil Neville from managing Miami, and I thought, it goes on. It still goes on.
So history repeats itself.
Exactly.
The second time as farce.
I don't think there'll be a monument in Miami to Phil Neville. I think he won like 3 out of 20 games or something. But anyway, that was that.
Oh, dear. 455. Bull advice.
Oh, this is what I need. Bull advice.
Caps are used here.
Okay.
They're gone for caps. Hi, Frank.
I tend to keep my voice down in their presence, the bulls. He's gone.
Having watched a few rodeo clips,
okay,
I can assure you that he's used his quotes here, bull needs a run-up theory, may be slightly flawed.
Yes, I wondered
The
about
way they explode out of the gate like a jack-in-the-box makes me think they aren't as reliant on gaining momentum as you may think. Just a cautionary note, Frank, for the next time you get close to one.
They're a bit 0 to 16.
That's Steve-O.
5 seconds or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't. The background to this. I must have told the story on here a few times of when I was actually chased by a bull.
I can't remember. I think we're going to have to hear it again, my friend.
It's one of those stories that at the time was absolutely terrifying. It took me about 24 hours to start getting gags out of it.
Oh, Pierre, I can't wait for this. Gather around the fireside.
This show might never have happened if things had been different on that day.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had...
I'll tell you my bull story quickly.
Oh, yes. Tell us your bull story.
So I was a student at Warwick University, and it was coming up to Christmas holidays, and I went into Leamington Spa to buy Christmas presents. And I walked through this field, and there was a massive bull in there. And I thought, oh, I don't like this. And I walked through and I did all the sort of just don't make eye contact, and I got through. And I thought, well, thank God, it'll be much later when I come back. That would have been put into its enclosure, because I know a lot about farming. So anyway, I got a few. Remember, I bought my mum an electric kettle, and I had bags with stuff, presents I'd got. Anyway, I thought I'd have a drink while I'm in there. So I had a couple of pints, and then it was dark. You know what it's like in winter.
Oh, yeah.
So I walked back, and it was so dark I'd sort of forgot about the bull. And I was walking, and I couldn't see anything. And then I felt in the ground. And I realised this bull was coming straight at me. And my hands were full with presents. So I ran, and there was a stile, and I ran up over the stile without using my hands. I just ran up it like Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse.
Look out, here comes the spider.
And I went over it, and then the other side I landed on my backside, and then the whole fence came forward about 3 feet at the top, where this bull had hit the fence really hard. And my heart, honestly, I thought I was going to die there in that. I thought there might some corner of a foreign field that is forever Oldbury. And it was terrifying, really terrifying. So that's why I'm a bit nervy now. And as I said, if I died like that,
what a loss that would have been.
But when the news went out to my friends and family, you can't quite take seriously man chased by bull.
No.
It is a bit of a Benny Hill way to go.
If you're killed by being chased by a bull, your obituary has to be in the Beano.
It is a bit.
It is.
It's like imagine the terrible death of being hit by sort of an anvil or a big piano falling from the sky. It's
exactly.
Sort of a cartoon death.
Or cheese rolling competition.
Because you think it doesn't really happen,
but it does.
We actually went past Cooper's Hill this week, which is where the big cheese. That's a violent event.
What cheese? Is it called cheese rolling?
The cheese rolling on Cooper's Hill. It sounds like a lovely old Merry England tradition. But I think I watched a documentary about it, and people get really quite badly injured.
Break their legs all the time.
Apparently the woman who won it this year only knew she'd won when she regained consciousness.
There's got to be an easier way to get cheese, doesn't there?
Exactly.
Cost of living crisis?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Ultra Magnus
yes.
has been in touch.
Of course.
Bulls only tend to attack things that they perceive to be a threat. Whether they'd see you holding a big stick as a threat, I'll leave to divine consent to decide.
Yes. Well, maybe they think I was a tree.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know. Do they think much, bulls?
Do you worry about perhaps one day walking through a field with a descendant of that bull from Leamington Spa?
Oh, well,
they'll see your silhouette and think, I've been told about this man.
See, this is why I love sheep. I've been in a field with, honestly, like 200 sheep swarming like starlings in a twilight sky. And they are the least threatening, most gentle animals.
Quite a benign. Well, Pierre was telling me off air. Yes, we talk about sheep off air and pigs.
At my insistence.
Yeah. And Pierre told me, Frank, they're quite reactive, though. They're a bit sort of drama queen, aren't they?
If you spook them,
What do? They
just die.
Yeah.
They just plop onto the floor, terrified. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, they're so sweet. They really are. Whereas bulls are just monsters.
Do you identify with sheep? I can see you.
The lamb.
Yes.
The Nazarene.
No, I don't know what I identify. Okay. I think the marmoset.
Frank, I've got one more question for you. Do bulls still wear nose rings?
I try not to get that close, but that might be a large magnet in backpack. that could be one method.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
What about Jimmy, or as I call him, 917. I was told by a fellow worker that he once worked with a man who was always seen pushing a sack barrow with a piece of sheet metal on it. One day, the man disappeared, never to be seen again. It turned out he'd been making a caravan at work on the side, and nobody had thought to ever question him for fear of embarrassment. That's from Jimmy. That might be the greatest I made it at work story ever. An actual caravan.
That's brilliant. There's a Johnny Cash song, One Piece at a Time, about a man who works in a car factory and eventually builds a car of various parts.
I've also, Frank, got a bit of career advice for you, which I like. 531. Hi, Frank. Have you ever considered a walking series, maybe on Sky Arts or the Beeb? Favourite routes with a mixture of history, etc. That's from 531. That's from John Thoday at Avalon.
No, I think my manager said, have you ever considered walking? Now that Operation Mincemeat has become so massive.
Yeah.
Oh, Frank's paranoid now.
We have a blacksmith update.
Oh, good.
At last.
And other things I never thought I'd hear you say on this show.
Yeah.
Dean says, FYI, I have made loads of things for friends at work.
Okay.
I once made a small full metal sword for my son, then 7, to take to school for Saxon dressing up day. He was chuffed because all the other kids had cardboard swords. Needless to say, it was confiscated.
The other kids had cardboard swords and some quite big wounds.
Yes. I'm sure Dean's son, took the throne of England quite easily. What with his metal innovations. Yeah.
Wow, that's a good one. Our producer, Sarah, told us that there was a stage, I'm calling it a dais, at her wedding. Where
we saw it.
Yes, where people performed. And a friend said, I'll make you a stage at work. And she's actually got a photo of him working with massive sheets of chipboard, and he built her a stage. I mean, that's up there with the caravan.
Is he a carpenter then?
Is he a carpenter? No, he's just messing about.
Oh, okay.
This is when I can't get any work at all, I'll get him to build me a stage and I'll just pretend at home.
In the garden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not in the garden, somewhere hidden away.
Frank, we found out as well what your...
That's my Scooby-Doo surprise. Ooh.
You talked earlier of some sort of construction made by creatures.
Yes, I saw a phenomenon in the bushes on my walking holiday, and it was if it was web, it was dense web, and it was some sort of container that had been built by creatures.
And it looks, I'll tell you what, it looks like a sort of, if Gandalf had spat. It's like...
If Gandalf had spat, what a novel that would be.
Do you know what I mean? It's like a giant... I don't know how one would explain it, really, but those who've seen it have seen it. I suggest you do. Go onto our Instagram page or Twitter. We found out what it is.
Well, the fence is out, so shall we make it let's call it a branch hanger in this context. Can I say, when you're close to it to take a photo, it was absolutely terrifying. So if it turns out to be something minor, I shall feel such a fool.
Frank Skinner. Absolute Radio.
We left things on something of a... What did we call it?
A branch hanger, I think. It was, what is the monstrous structure which the animal kingdom has come up with this time?
Another ITV game show pitches.
Monstrous carbuncle. Well, we've had all sorts getting in touch. Firstly, May's Creative. That looks a bit like a pine processionary caterpillar nest. They're a real problem here in Spain. I didn't realise they were also in the UK. The hairs are poisonous, so they can be deadly to dogs. New documentary series on Sky.
Yeah.
And a big nuisance in springtime. And Awesome Giraffe has agreed with May's Creative and said, I thought the same, as the pine trees here in Cyprus were full of them a few weeks ago, now all hatched. Oh, imagine the hatching. I've never seen them in the UK, though. I hadn't heard of them until I came here, and I was fascinated seeing them walk in a procession. That's the caterpillars.
Yes.
Not realising how dangerous they were.
Well, I've made a major discovery here. The first one in England.
We have some non-Mediterranean feedback from Andy Wood, Bronte Country.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know who to believe, because Andy Wood is very bullish to tie the thread from the other nature question together.
Where's my stick?
Yeah, he says it's an Eastern tent caterpillar hangar where all the pre-dusty-winged baby moths hang out. They clearly build a sort of cube to hang out in until they're big enough.
Yeah.
And he adds, 100% sure of this.
Oh, wow. I can honestly say I'm not 100% sure of anything.
Well, Andy Wood, when it comes to the Eastern tent caterpillar hangar.
Yeah, I'm calling that fundamentalism.
I mean, I'm with Tamara. Tamara Smith says, I think you should...
Tamara and Tamara creeps in this petty pace day after day to the last record. Anyway, last syllable of recorded time.
Tamara says, I would report this to the Forestry Commission.
Yes, I think after I've reported the fact that farmers are putting bulls in the same fields as public footpaths.
Yeah. You should get a nice picture of yourself in the local press looking, like frowning very deliberately near the big web.
I should have got one on the end of a stick for bull repellent.
Yes.
I wonder if they'd know, if they're bright enough to know it'd be dangerous.
That literally is something from the Beano. I mean, you can't actually buy that. Where do you get that from? A joke shop or something?
I remember 60s Batman.
Yeah, 60s Batman had shark repellent.
It would have been the Batman with diddle-a-diddle-a-diddle-a-diddle when they wheel. Yeah. I can imagine you with a bull repellent, Frank.
Yeah, Adam West was hanging from he was pulled out of the sea on a rope ladder on the back copter. And he got a shark hanging on his leg, and he took from his utility belt shark repellent, which he had with him.
Did he have shark repellent?
And just fired it, and it fell off.
Labelled can.
It was very much a shark of the oven glove variety.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Boys, I want to talk about G. Neville this morning.
Oh, yes.
You're familiar with his work, Frank?
Well, we've already mentioned P. Neville.
We have. Do you know these characters, Pierre?
I'm aware of them from hearing their names a lot growing up.
Quick précis of Gary Neville.
Well, it's that weird phenomenon where, incredibly, two brothers from the same family can play football at the top end, play for England. This doesn't seem right. But Gary Neville, was a successful defender at Manchester United and for England. He was known as the shop steward in England. Always looked a bit grumpy during the national anthem because he was seen as a bit left-wing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now he's become a very successful pundit. He had one go at management at Seville,
Arteta. He's always having a go at Arteta.
No, but he tried management and it didn't work out for him. But he's a very good pundit.
He is very good.
But
I like a bit of Neville.
I'm going to say, dragged over the coals. That's what I'm going to say, over the Andy Coles.
I'm much more aware of him now.
Andrew Coles now, please.
Yes, of course.
I'm much more aware of him now, having encountered his interesting holiday philosophy.
Well,
yes, we discuss this, please? We should say he talked about this on a Bro podcast. Whether he was wearing the black T-shirt with the rolled-up sleeves, I don't know. But it's you. Well, over to you, fellas.
Well, he was asked about holidays, about going on holidays, and he said, well, I see a holiday as a mini retirement.
Yes.
He said,
what I do is I have a weird thing I do, and it's called a mini retirement.
Yeah.
I do about 6 a year, he said.
Yeah. And he's been condemned for this.
Yeah.
And he talks about, reading books on his mini retirement.
And not working. And
but,
not
then
checking his emails.
But then the retirement stops and he goes back to work.
Yes.
How long does it stop after? Maybe 2 or 3 days?
Well, it depends. If it's a city break.
Then he only retires for 2 days, 2.5.
Sometimes, in what we used to call in my youth, if he goes away on the industrial fortnight, which was all the factories closed in the last week in July, the first week in August. There's something brilliant about the industrial fortnight. In fact, it was the only non-industrial fortnight we had. But anyway, so he's kind of like, it's like the word holiday has escaped him.
Yes, it's sort of English as a second language. It's sort of because it's like a retirement, but temporary.
How you say?
Only a few days.
What I like, guys, is that he says at one point, sometimes some of my best ideas come on these types of trips. When you say these types of trips,
it's like one of those parlour games where it's like you can't say the word holiday, but you have to describe the
Radio 4.
Yes, exactly.
Also, when I read that article, I really wanted to hear what his best ideas were.
Yes.
I wanted like a top 10 of his best ideas on a mini retirement.
Yeah, on your sun lounger when you were briefly retired.
Don't manage again. I think it was one of them.
Hat with beer holders.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
He's a bit smarter than that, though.
Is he?
Yeah.
He is, yeah. He's a bit smarter. We shouldn't characterise him as a fool.
I think it's less. He's a smart one. He's just got very into the footballerese. That's all.
What I would say about him is I occasionally, when doing stand-up, especially in a small venue when you can see, I'll say something and I can see it's always men. Men in their, say, 40s, 50s, looking at me saying, that which you just said was unusual terminology.
Yes.
I want no part of it.
Yes. Yes.
And I feel Gary's slightly a victim. I think mini retirement is a fabulous...
Do you like it?
It's a fabulous description. I mean, I associate retirement from growing up with sitting in a pub for 2 hours with a half a mild, making it just last. But retirement now, I think, is a richer experience.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that you're in favour of his rebrand.
I might start saying maybe we're due a mini retirement.
Should we make it take off for G-Nev?
I think he's had unnecessary stick. What I would say is I think we should have a text in of what Gary Neville reads on holiday, on his mini retirement. And I don't think it's going to be what we'd associate with, with a sort of oath at all. My first guess is Sapiens.
Really?
You know that book? I think that's where he's operating.
I'm going to put one of my chips on sort of Malcolm Gladwell Blink, that kind of thing.
Oh, I quite like that. You see, I might go for some sort of political biography.
Yeah, okay.
Autobiography, maybe an Alistair Campbell, maybe an American president.
Or maybe you've gone too far now. I'm thinking Dog Shoe. You know that, the story of the man who invented, the man behind the swoosh, as they say. Yes. What do you think Gary Neville reads on his recliner? 8, 12, 15.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. I won't tell you what I drive. It's good for the environment, though.
I said Absolute Rodeo.
Did I say Absolute Radio?
You've got balls on the mind.
I have balls, yes. This is Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio, Emily Dean, Pierre Neville. Puff, off, off, off. Text the show on 81215. Puff, off, off. Money in my other suit. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show. Why don't you do that? It's free. Via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
We've been talking.
No such thing as a free email, that's the saying, isn't it?
I think there is.
Well, I think there is.
We've been talking about G-Nev this morning, who went viral after rebranding the holiday, or the weekend essentially, as a mini retirement.
And speaking of it as a sort of discovery that he thought he might have made.
Yes.
And Frank is very much...
And Frank.
It'll never get old.
Keep it light. Yeah, go on, carry on.
Well, you're defending the man.
Yeah. Oh no, Frank
I
is
am.
very je suis Gary Neville.
All these things that people moan about in the papers about when people come up with new terminology. Like I love the fact that people who eat at work, they just get there in their normal where they sit to type, and they call it eating al desco. I love a new word like that.
Yeah.
And I think mini retirement is a very good explanation of what a holiday is.
I'm warming to it now. You're selling it to me.
But let me tell you a little story about Gary Neville. I support West Bromwich Albion, currently in the Championship. And when they were in the Premier League, they played Manchester United.
Adorable.
Yeah. And Gary Neville was, I'm going to use the phrase, run ragged by our winger. And he says that when the whistle blew for that game, he decided that's it. And as he put it very nicely for a West Brom fan, he said, when you've got average players causing you trouble, then you know it's time to go. So
that didn't turn you against him then?
No, I knew what he meant. He then went to the next opportunity. He went to Sir Alex Ferguson's office. He was the manager of Manchester United at the time. Have you heard of him?
I have, yes.
Yeah, okay. And he said, I was terrible against West Brom. And Alex Ferguson said, yeah, you were, but, you'll bounce back. He said, no, I realised that's it for me. And he said, and this is one of the great football... Do you remember I said to you once, an ex-girlfriend, we'd split up, and she went to Nicky Clark's hair salon, and he asked how I was, and Nicky Clark, this celebrity hairdresser, she burst into tears, and Nicky Clark went into a slight panic, not being a man who wanted to deal with emotion in a public setting, and he went off and came back with a glass of champagne. Yeah. Well, this is the footballer's approach. So Gary Neville said, that's it, I'm finished, I'm not playing. And he said, Alex Ferguson said, don't rush into anything. Have a week in Dubai. Isn't that the modern?
And if that
have a mini retirement in Dubai.
Yeah. Well, maybe he didn't use the word holiday, and Gary thinks, well, I will, but I'll have to come up with some sort of a name for this.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We're having all sorts of suggestions for what G. Neville would read on his recliner.
Yeah. Anna Banana says novels, spelt the same as Neville.
Oh,
Neville's novels.
Very good.
I'd
shop at Neville's novels. I'd go for a look around Neville's novels on a lunch break.
Oh, so would I. It sounds quite Hobbit-like.
Yeah.
What about Iona Faz? I reckon he reads a glossy property development magazine, like the Northwest Insider.
Oh, that's
now
good.
He's got his foot on the ladder in Manchester development. Lovely work, Iona.
Yes, he is. He's one of those footballers that when he's written off, one reads the term business ventures.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on. I think he's a smart cookie, GM.
He's no fool, GM. Rob listening on the app in Amsterdam. Hello, over there in Amsterdam. Thank your friends. You love Amsterdam.
I love Amsterdam. It's great.
Do you want to say anything to the people of Amsterdam listening?
Well, yes. I'd say if you actually live on the canal, on one of those sort of floating homes on the canal. We went on a canal trip, and the man just kept saying, whatever you did, don't look at these and think how lovely to live on the canal. He said, it's an absolute nightmare. He said you're constantly getting the bottom of it scraped, and if you get someone go past and create any real waves, you'll lose all your electricity and your plumbing. It'll just shake everything up. He said just don't get one of these houseboat things. He said it about 5 times on the trip.
Oh.
And at the end he said, and what have you learned from this trip? And we all went, don't get one of these. He said, yes.
Oh my Lord. His wife ran off with a sort of boat captain or something.
Yeah, so it's got to be something deeper. Anyway, what's the message?
So Rob, listening on the app in Amsterdam, who refers to himself in the third person, which I enjoy. Rob, listening on the app in Amsterdam, reckons G. Neville reads his own book, The People's Game.
Oh, and of course the People's Game, very Marxian.
Yes, yeah. Ed tweets, I think he just listens to podcasts, playing Neville's advocate.
Why doesn't he have a podcast called The Neville's Advocate?
Do you know what? I think you should suggest that, and I actually think it'd be a lovely way for you to get in touch with him, because I think he'd be quite a nice friend for you.
He could do one about his mini retirements called the Neville and the Deep Blue Sea. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, good. I like any man who coins a phrase. So good old G. Neville.
Do you think...
By the way, when he got back from Dubai, he still wanted to retire. So it
We've
didn't
also had one suggestion from 705, didn't we? That he's definitely the art of war type.
Oh, do you think?
Do you think?
Oh, that's
business prep.
good. That's maybe that... no, he wouldn't read a Trump. I was thinking that Trump business, but he wouldn't read.
No, but I'll tell you what he might like. He might like the art of the deal, is it called?
That's Trump.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think...
what I mean. No, but he would have given up after that era because he's got taste and he'd think...
I think he's anti-capitalist, though, despite his business ventures.
Oh, okay.
That's my view.
Do you think that, like stand-up comedians, footballers, the reason he's got this idea of mini retirement and no holidays, because weekends are sort of become an abstraction in that line of work.
Yes.
And the idea of a holiday that is anything other than determined by the line of work is sort of mad.
Yes, I think he probably refers to half-time as a mini postponement.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Frank, I think it's time we stroll down Previously Lane.
Yes, then this is when people, I think often podcasters, but sometimes the reticent, get in touch with us during the week saying, you know that thing you said on Saturday, blah, blah, blah. It's a sort of retrospective commentary.
Yeah, there's a slight Columbo sort of element to it. One more, just before you move on too quickly, just remember...
Just one thing.
Yeah.
I swear I remember you saying...
Just one more thing. My wife's a big fan of yours. Anyway.
Does Columbo always wear that coat, Frank?
Always.
Was it? Did he ever
he's
dry clean it?
And he's operating in sort of California.
Yeah.
Hot. I mean, he must stink, Columbo.
What sort of shoes?
Cigars and
Exactly.
beer.
Not just the coat.
late review.
Not just-
Columbo stinks.
Not just the same coat, but the same shoes, suit,
I was going to say,
everything.
Frank.
Do you think that's
and
why
cigars?
That's why people look up suddenly when he comes into the room? Because they go,
Yeah,
"Oh, Lord, what is that?"
Columbo's arrived.
one more thing I'll peg off those.
Just one more thing.
Yeah, one more thing. Why are you spraying the room?
One more thing. Would it kill
You
you to
must
put
have.
some Dove on next time?
Literally the same clothes every episode, as I recall.
Frank, can I ask another question? I will. What shoes do you think Columbo would wear?
Well, I know what shoes he does wear. In fact, they're very similar to what I'm wearing today, in that he wears a suede lace-up.
Oh, I love that about him.
And they must be sodden. I bet the salt on them from his sweaters form like the rings of a tree when you cut through a tree.
Do you think he has those unsightly rings in his suit?
Yes.
Oh, God, yes.
One more thing. Do you have a glass of water?
One more thing. Do you have a powder deodorant?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
Do you
trying to
have-
save the environment.
Do you have sandblasting facilities on my armpits?
My wife, she hates how crusted up I get.
My wife wears industrial breathing apparatus. Anyway, where were we?
Already.
Some previous correspondence.
Okay. I can't read the next Columbo related thing. No, we've heard from the outside world. I'm going to go straight to Peter Ayres.
Remember, he's got a name that ends with BR. As do all his interviews.
No wonder they all confess.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to get him out of the room.
Send me to prison. Send me to the chair. Get me away from this pile of rotting vegetation.
Just stop lifting your arm to touch your lip.
Oh, no. I like that he backs it up with cigars as well. In case that he's not generating enough heat.
It's a coping mechanism I've come up with to disguise my stench.
Exactly. It's like a smoke screen.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, let's return to previously. We got distracted by the stench of Colombo.
Yes. It's all right. We've opened a couple of windows, which you can't do in a radio studio, in truth.
Yeah.
That is verboten. Peter Ayres. Hi, Frank.
He does after Colombo's interviewed him. No, come on, moving on.
I can't. You can't just say move on. You've opened the dam.
My wife's got a big fan.
Of course.
Oh, man.
Of course.
Hi, Frank and team. Red sauce on ice cream. Do you remember discussing this, Frank?
Yes, we talked about... I think I did a crush nuts joke.
Well, it doesn't surprise me.
Emily said that she hated it when they put sort of syrup on ice cream.
Oh, they get the squeezy out, the 99 men.
And you're against it?
Of course I am. Huh. And I can't remember what your thoughts were, yeah. Anyway.
No, I love it.
Okay.
I used to like all the squeezes.
Our friendship survives. Red sauce on ice cream. Up here in Geordieland, it's known as monkey's blood.
Is it really?
Don't ask me why, and rest assured that no monkeys are sacrificed in the vans of the North East.
No, I hope not.
By the way, all the vans locally have a cheery tune to announce their arrival.
Of course, Hartlepool, which is in the northeast of England, was the people of Hartlepool colloquially were teased with the nickname monkey hangers, because the story was in medieval times, I think it was, that a monkey escaped from some sort of travelling circus, and they, having apprehended it, the people of Hartlepool thought it was a French spy and hanged it in the town square. Oh. And they're not easy to hang. I don't mean on a tyre, I mean with a noose.
Oh, Albert Pierrepoint.
Yeah, exactly. That was the story. I mean, it may be mythological, but people from Hartlepool, which is not Newcastle, but it's not that far away, were known as monkey hangers.
Oh,
and maybe once they'd hang the monkey, they all gathered underneath it with their ice creams.
Oh, yeah?
You know?
Maybe
that's the origin. I remember, maybe it was Albert Pierrepoint or one of the other sort of famous hangmen.
We're friends with one of his relatives.
Oh.
Well, they get in touch with us, don't they?
Is that a threat?
Just say before you...
It's the most pathetic threat.
Yeah, I'm friends with the descendant of a hangman. All right,
Albert Pierrepoint.
Yeah.
The idea that a hangman would sort of chase you with a noose.
Yeah.
His plot is to eliminate the middleman.
Yes, yes. Apparently this hangman, whoever it was, said they could estimate the length of rope needed for a particular condemned man by shaking his hand.
That was Pierrepoint.
That was Pierrepoint.
That was our friend.
Harder with an ape.
Oh, very hard. Well,
hard to shake its hand.
Oh, yeah.
They're very informal,
speak for yourself.
The apes. Yeah. You might actually take a foot.
What would an ape do if you tried to shake its hand?
Well, I don't know quite how it would... I think I'd go for a high five with an ape.
Would you?
Well, they don't have an opposing thumb.
I'd go for an air kiss.
So they couldn't do the grip, could they?
Do they go for the kiss on the side? I'd go for the air kiss.
Pierre's looking now. Do they have they don't have an opposing thumb.
They don't, do they?
That's why they don't play guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's the only reason.
They're more of an EDM crowd, I think.
Right, we're going to have a break now while Pierre checks on my facts and sees if they have an opposing thumb. I'm confident they don't.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Regarding, we mentioned the idea of shaking hands with an ape.
Oh, yeah.
Or with a primate of some kind, anyway.
That's all I want to do.
Yeah. My dad has texted in and passed on this nugget from my Uncle Peter. They don't shake hands. They put your finger in their mouths and nibble it a bit as a sign of confidence in your friendship, that they won't bite you.
When you say nibble it a bit,
Just a little playful nibble.
would you feel confident in that?
I'd feel anxious with
would I.
an ape I didn't know.
But if I could just talk to the animals.
Well, my grandfather, of course, always maintained that chimpanzees could speak fluent English.
Hadn't he overheard that?
Yes, he took a short
He
cut.
overheard them talking.
He took a short cut one late night. He absolutely sincerely believed this, in the northeast of England, and there was a circus, and he said he went past the vehicle that held the chimpanzees, and he heard them talking.
And what were they saying?
Just talking about, it's a tough night tonight. And
I can't believe we're touring the regions.
my
Should
dad
never have left London.
anyway,
Has it come to this? Regional rep.
banana, anyone? Anyway, he heard this. So my dad said people would say to him, look, if that was true, why don't we know? Why don't they just speak to us?
Yeah.
And my granddad, this is what my granddad said. Well, obviously they're not going to speak to us, so they don't want us to know. He said, well, because they know, if we find out they can speak, they'd be straight down the pit. And if there was a war, who do you think would get sent first? If we knew they could
So
speak.
they've all collectively agreed to never reveal.
Yeah.
that they-
I mean, I can't fault that line of
logic.
thinking. No, I think he's absolutely bang on there. It would
I
have
quite
been
like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did he? I appreciate he's no longer around to ask to develop this theory further, but did he sort of elaborate? Did this extend to the other aspects of the animal kingdom, or just the chimpanzee?
Well, these were chimpanzees. I mean, I don't know how he even knew, unless they were behind bars and he could see them.
Yes.
I think my theory is that there might have been a sort of a trailer that had got the chimpanzee's picture on it for publicity purposes, but there were people living in it, and he heard them talking and thought. But he was. My dad said
Can I ask a delicate question?
he
Did
went
he
to his
drink?
grave. He did drink. Yeah.
Okay.
He went to his grave believing that chimpanzees could talk and were keeping it from us for practical reasons.
it'd be a lot more fun to see them in a zoo and just give them a little wink as if to say, I know.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'm not telling anyone.
Well, there's no pits left anymore, so they probably they've dodged that particular bullet.
Would have been very funny to see people blaming Margaret Thatcher for rendering all the chimps jobless.
What about them? They'd had to feature on the. They had no choice monument. They had no choice monument, but of course they would have, because they could have argued their case for pacifism.
They knew exactly what they were getting into.
Exactly. Oh, anyway, there you have it. So next week this will be presented by Beppo the monkey. Thanks for listening this morning. If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.